welcome to the Why We See Movies podcast. I'm your host, Ron.I'm. Joining me today, as always, we've got Darren.
Hi there.
And Ivan.
What's up?
And Paul.
Word.
Today we're going to be talking about the new film in the DC Cinematic Universe, Wonder Woman, starring Gal Gadot and Chris Pine. Later we'll do our Rant and Rave segment, but first, let's see what's going on inside the entertainment world with...
You on the mark!
Hey guys.
Hey.
Hi. What's up?
How's everybody?
Wonderful.
Darren, got anything to talk about?
Hey guys, I got a few corrections / addendas to some recent podcasts. I'll go through
I'm not
these
the
quickly.
only one that makes mistakes.
No, there are a few of us that make mistakes.
You're the only one that's admitted to them thus far.
That's true.
Number one, in my review for Remember, Adam McGowan's film, I credited Henry Czerny as playing the Nazi concentration camp guard, Rudy Kurlander. Henry Czerny plays the son of Christopher Plummer in the film. It is Jürgen Prochnow who plays Rudy Kurlander. It's a silly misremembering on my part
You
from
kind of
the movie Remember.
You kind of had it right. I think you had those names mixed up.
I might have twisted it around a little bit.
Yeah. Jürgen Prochnow's a great actor.
I love him.
He seems much more age appropriate for that role.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he was heavily made up to be
Was he?
a Nazi guard in 2015. To me, he's been kind of ageless since Das Boot. He hasn't seemed to get older, and then all of a sudden, he's a lot older.
Right.
The other thing is I mentioned Gordon Cole as being a character name taken from Sunset Boulevard.
Mm-hmm.
That is correct.
A very minor character.
Very minor
I had to
character,
look that up too.
But I think a significant couple scenes he has with William Holden near the beginning of the film.
Yeah, I guess he works at the studio. He's one of the studio bosses.
Oh, is that who he is?
I think so.
Based on the actor's face on IMDb, I thought he might have been the caretaker at Gloria Swanson's estate.
No.
When he first goes there? No,
that's that famous silent film director, Erich von Stroheim.
No, not him. Because Erich von Stroheim is in the card game later in the...
No, that's Buster Keaton.
I thought it was Stroheim and Buster Keaton.
Stroheim plays the butler, the guy who takes care of her.
Okay, not him. No, not him. But there's like a guy, like almost like a gardener or something early in Sunset Boulevard.
Oh, maybe.
I thought that was Gordon Cole. But yeah, you could be absolutely right. It could be the studio guy. And the third correction I need to make is after our Twin Peaks podcast aired or podded or whatever you do with the podcast, my friend Chris said to me, Darren, you keep mentioning Amanda Seyfried in this show. I haven't seen her yet. What are you talking about? And I said, well, the character of Daria, Amanda Seyfried. So that's not Amanda Seyfried. Absolutely, you are right, Chris, as we looked up and we both know Nicole Laliberta plays Daria. And for those of you who've watched or have not watched, Amanda Seyfried has not shown up until episode 5. Silly mistake on my part. They look a lot alike.
They look a lot alike.
They have big eyes
for sure.
And they look like pretty faces. And they
watching Amanda Seyfried in the new episode, I was totally confused because I still thought that she was the other character.
Yeah, they look a ton alike.
That makes so much more sense.
I think it's an honest mistake on my part that...
Okay, now I have to watch that episode again.
I apologize, Nicole Laliberta. Okay. You are Daria. Amanda Seyfried is not.
All right.
That's all I've got for my corrections.
Yeah, there's still so much Twin Peaks stuff I want to chat about with you, and this is as good as time as any then.
Okay, bring up
a few things I want to talk about that we forgot in the last podcast. Okay, things that we didn't mention, the Blue Rose. Significance of that.
Yeah. I think, to me, that's always just meant the paranormal or the supernatural element in whatever case. It didn't exist in the original series. It was brought in Firewalk with Me and is carried over into season 3. It's never really been fully explained. That's what makes the most sense.
Okay. And we're still seeing the white horse every now and then.
Yeah. What does the white horse represent?
I still have no idea what that. It seems like only Mrs. Palmer ever sees the horse, right? Is she the one who saw it?
She's the one who saw it
in the new episodes?
I can't even remember now who saw it in the new episodes.
Yeah.
Well, Sarah Palmer was very brief. She was just watching TV, like lions tearing apart gazelles or something, which is exactly what Sarah Palmer should be watching.
Doing for the last 25 years by herself? Oh, that's sad.
After your entire family is murdered, I guess.
Exactly.
She sees it before Maddie's death. Yeah, what does it represent?
You don't have any extra material in that one?
I've read a bit about it. I can't remember the theories. I don't have a good theory of my own.
We never brought up the old lady and the young boy. Remember them? They lived next door to Harold the Botanist.
Tremaine.
Or
not Tremaine. Tremond.
Yet in Twin Peaks Fire Walk with Me, they're the ones who own that trailer that disappears, right?
Right.
And they were going by the name Chalfont, I think.
Yeah. in Twin Peaks Season 2, that's David Lynch's son, is the little
Yeah,
boy.
as soon as I saw him when I was rewatching it, I was like, that has got to be a Lynch.
Yeah. And then, of course, one of many actors and actresses who have appeared in Seinfeld after first being on Twin Peaks.
I was going to bring that up next.
Yeah. Mrs. Tremont, of course, had the marble rye stolen from her by Jerry Seinfeld.
That's hilarious.
Great moment.
The next thing I want to talk about is the Seinfeld connection. Besides that, there is also, of course, Mrs. Palmer.
Mrs. Palmer and Mr. Hayward would be the two main ones.
Right, Susan's parents.
That's true.
Right, there's
Elaine's boss.
Right, Sue Ellen Mishke, the braless wonder kind.
Okay, that's not even who I was referring to, but yes, Sue Ellen Mishke.
Right, she's the
seduces
assistant.
Yeah, she's Eckhart's assistant. Right. I shouldn't say she doesn't seduce Harry, but she gets in bed with him before trying to kill him.
Right,
doesn't go so well for her.
And even Jacques Renault, of course, is the cable guy who Kramer's chasing
exactly.
around. So there's tons of.
That's why he looked familiar.
Yeah, I know.
But no, I was saying Elaine's boss, Mr. Pitt.
Mm-hmm.
He's what's he selling in Twin Peaks? He's demonstrating something or selling something to. I want to say it's a scene with Shelley and Bobby, the guy who later helps host Save the Pine Weasel fundraisers and stuff. I think he's the guy who was selling them.
That's true. So lots of Seinfeld references.
Lots of Seinfeld
characters in there.
Characters,
yeah.
But going back to the old grandmother and her grandson, there's a lot of heavy symbolism in Twin Peaks revolving around circles and broken circles. The circle representing the infinite and something that's pure and good, and the unbroken being something potentially evil or something of possibly. So Mrs. Tremont's son or grandson is holding in his hand creamed corn, two C's, two incomplete circles. The ring represents something whole and good and strong and powerful. The one time later in the series, a plate falls off the counter at the double R or double D as a word diner. The broken plate then represents something impure or evil or destructive. And Cooper's coffee mug throughout the series has a circle on it. It's just more of the endless symbolism, which we did not have any time to talk about in the last podcast. But
was there anything to do with cream corn as far as, like, you just mentioned a little bit, but I seem to recall it coming up or being focused on a little bit here or there. Like there was, when somebody was in the hospital, they were talking about the food not being very good, and it showed like a cream corn kind of substance.
Yeah, those were just kind of more like mush when they were in the hospital. It was just one of the silly jokes.
There are other references to corn, though.
Yeah, in Fire Walk With Me, then I think, is it the little man who kind of backwards puts it back onto the spoon from his mouth?
Right.
Yeah.
Garmin Bozia.
Yeah.
Excuse me, Garmin Bozia.
And we never talked about him. I just call him the Arm. That's how he represents himself.
Yeah.
The little guy.
The little man.
And if I'm right,
his character's name is the Man from Another Place.
Is that right?
That's how he's referred to, simply the Man from Another Place.
And I don't know if I'm right about this, but him and Mike were once the same person, and Mike cut off the arm, and he has become the embodiment of the arm. Am I right about that?
Maybe it's a theory.
That's what I kind of.
It's nothing that's ever been established, but maybe, because Mike did cut off his arm, as he explains in the series, to get rid of something that he felt was evil. But I mean, the little man, the real little man, not his doppelganger, but the regular little man might be just a regular guy and not evil at all.
It's not weird that he's still alive, that actor, and yet I've heard that
Anderson.
He's not participating in the show. It's kind of strange.
I don't know if he's retired. He's not that old. I think he was born in late 40s.
Kind of such an iconic image from the show anyways.
Yeah, for sure.
Little man dancing.
But if you can't get him back, you might as well make him a withered tree with a chewed up gum brain for a face.
I was thinking it was kind of an actual arm reforming itself or something to that effect, because it almost looks like it could be that shape and just the veins and such kind of reforming.
Interesting.
I don't know. I was kind of wondering if it might go that way. I mean, the show is out there enough that it could be something like that.
There is any, for sure.
And besides the little man, we never talked about the giant either.
Right.
And his similarities or his relationship with the older waiter.
Here's one interpretation. In the last episode, he says, the waiter is in the Red Room, speaking to Cooper for a bit. Coffee. And then he disappears. The giant is there. The giant sits down beside the little man, and he says, one and the same. Is he saying he and the waiter who just disappeared are one and the same, or he and the little man who are now side by side are one and the same? Those are the two interpretations. Choose which one you will. I wanted to say one thing quickly about, now that you mentioned Little Man. So I've been reading a book recently called The Essential Wrapped in Plastic Pathways to Twin Peaks by John Thorne, which is a compendium of many of the articles and reviews from the magazine Wrapped in Plastic. Which
must be a lot of Twin Peaks books out there. Huh?
There's quite a few. Yeah. Some official ones, some unofficial ones, which are almost official just based on their content. Okay. This is one of the unofficial ones, which is take is official. I mean, the Wrapped in Plastic magazine was the only source for Twin Peaks fans for years to kind of get information about the show. Anyways, they've mentioned several times in this book that in the final episode, when Major Briggs is in the diner and Dr. Jacoby brings Sarah Palmer in, and she says she's channeling someone in the waiting room and says to Major Briggs, "I'm in the Black Lodge with Dale Cooper. I'm waiting for you." They say several times, "We don't know who she's channeling. We don't know who she's channeling." I think it's very clearly the little man who, when she says, "I'm in the Black Lodge with Dale Cooper," it's a really weird sounding audio. Mm-hmm. But the line, "I'm waiting for you," just sounds 100% to me like Michael Anderson. So to me, it's cut and dried. That is the little man. Anyways, I don't know why the authors of this book think it's
what episode is that in?
The final episode.
Final one. Okay. Yeah. I'm enjoying these new episodes so much. You've seen the new episode?
Oh, yeah.
I think we'll have to keep an ongoing Twin Peaks kind of update.
We'll revisit it maybe in a few episodes.
Yeah,
it's like Game of Thrones. I look up at the time, and it's 35 minutes into the show, and it felt like 10 minutes. I can't believe how much I'm enjoying these and how they fly by.
Even to the point when the musical act started at the end, I was like, no, not the end of
the show. Yeah, I know that's not even ending the series. The show is like, give us some more. And they luckily did give us some more.
I know. You know when a show's got you so good. Yeah.
For sure. So that's news, everybody.
Yes, that's our Twin Peaks update.
Hopefully it's piqued your interest.
Yeah. We still have a bit more news to chat about.
Paul.
I don't even hear it anymore.
Lame dad jokes.
Okay, so first news. I don't know if you guys are interested in this at all after our Aliens podcast, but it's official. Neil Blomkamp, director of District 9, was supposed to be doing an Alien sequel. He had all planned. It was going to follow right after James Cameron's Aliens. That movie is officially over. I don't know if it has to do with the response that Covenant had, or it just has to do with the fact that Ridley Scott has so many other Alien projects in development. So that one's over, and he says he's going to be moving on to his District 10. He's doing a sequel.
Oh, but really? I heard that they were saying that this was still in the planning stages. There's even no script or nothing else. That's what I heard, that there was no script.
But he definitely had to, he's quite an imaginative director, and I'm sure he had the whole movie in his head of what he wanted to do. But that's not going to be happening. And now, with the response that Covenant got, it doesn't look like we might even get a sequel to that movie, because Ridley Scott was planning a third one, right? After Prometheus and this. So who knows what's going on with the Alien franchise, but I'm kind of disappointed that. I would have liked to have seen what his take on that would have been.
Couldn't have been worse than Chappie, so...
right.
Anyways.
Yeah, you were such a big fan of his first film, but...
District 9 remains my favorite movie of that year.
Yeah, I love that
Incredible film. Elysium was a definite step down.
Yep.
And Chappie was a Keanu Reeves bum abortion.
Big old misfire, yeah.
No, I haven't seen it yet, so...
Neither have I.
Don't bother with it.
I want to, but... It's unfortunate. I was curious to see his take, but I just assumed that once they were going ahead with Covenant full force, that it just kind of was the death nail on this project anyways. So,
yeah.
Well, they were originally marketed as sort of a remake, too, of... It was when they first brought it up, of Aliens, which doesn't sound very interesting to me. I'd rather see him make a sequel, but...
Yeah, I know Sigourney Weaver would have been involved. It would have involved
and Michael Bain for Hicks would have been back. There was some art promotion where it shows his face all messed up and scarred, and
maybe one day they'll release some sort of compendium of all of his ideas and sketches or something, and see the movie that could have been. In other news, Sin City is getting a series. Following the 2005 film and the 2014 sequel, A Dame to Kill For, the Weinstein's Dimension Films are going to be producing it. Len Mazzara from The Shield is going to be the showrunner, and the pilot is going to be directed by Len Weissman, who did the Underworld films. I was a big fan of Sin City, the first movie. I loved the source material by Frank Miller. I thought the movie was fantastic. It was exactly the movie it wanted to be. It was firing on all cylinders, and I kind of liked the sequel too. It just shouldn't have been 9 years later to wait for it. I think that all the steam had kind of...
left the sail.
Right. But I still think it's got some good stuff in there. So I'm a fan enough of this material to be looking forward to a series. I'm sure they're probably going to shoot it in the same way that they did the movies.
See, when I heard a couple of weeks ago that they were actually doing a movie reboot, I didn't hear about a series.
No, it's going to be a series,
Interesting.
Everything's a series now.
I'm curious to see it. I, like you, I loved the source material. I hadn't read it before seeing the first movie, and I loved the first movie so much it inspired me to go out and get all of the books for this, and I loved it. And it was unfortunate.
There's plenty of other stories to tell.
And it, like you said, it was just unfortunate that the sequel took so long to the point where a lot of interest other than diehard fans was just not there. So I'll check this out.
I never saw the sequel myself. So,
but you were a fan of the original.
I was a big fan of the original. Yeah, and if it's like any other comic book. I don't know if it's shorter, self-contained stories or not, but if there's enough material there, it sounds like it could be great for a TV series.
Yeah, in many ways, how the movies were sort of chapter-esque. Too.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I'm sure if it's like a half an hour, even an hour show, you could probably do one of his books for
anthology stories.
Sure.
Or so on,
Yeah. I didn't see Frank Miller's name attached to this at all. They probably own the property, so they could probably do whatever they want. I would hope that they might want to bring Frank in to direct a few episodes. I think he deserves a second chance after the spirit tanked so badly.
Which is a movie I actually like.
But he kept the spirit kind of more faithful, wasn't it? Because he's supposed to be kind of campy.
Faithful to a source material that only he loved. So that might have been the problem. But yeah, I hope the show gets off the ground and gets going. I'm excited about it.
Yeah, I'll check it out for sure.
Cool. So in other news, there's a new trailer out for Murder on the Orient Express. This is Kenneth Branagh's adaptation of Agatha Christie's novel. The film boasts a star-studded cast, including Michelle Pfeiffer, Johnny Depp, Penelope Cruz, Daisy Ridley, Josh Gad, Willem Dafoe, and Dame Judi Dench. This movie looks pretty great to me.
Yeah, that's what struck me about the trailer is, of course, Sidney Lumet's 70s version of it.
With Albert Finney.
Yeah, it's so known for its great star-studded cast. The only way you're going to remake this movie again is to do something comparable with a modern cast.
Right.
So.
Are you guys fan of whodunits or Agatha Christie?
I really like them. Like way back in the day, Gosford Park and that kind of stuff. I love that stuff. I don't watch them near enough. It's that genre that I forget how much I love it until I watch one. I'm like, yeah, I got to check out more of this. So,
yeah, these were really in vogue at one time in the 70s. Besides Murder on the Orient Express, Christie had a bunch of her films adapted. There was Death in the Nile, Evil Under the Sun, The Mere Crack. Besides those, Murder by Death, that was with Peter Falk and Peter Sellers. That was kind of a spoof send-up of the genre. And then the Clue movie came out a few years later. So these were really popular at one time. I think my favorite out of all of them is probably a film called The Last of Sheila. I think I lent that to you, Dex.
I don't recall having seen it.
Richard Benjamin, Diane Cannon. It's a bunch of them on kind of a yacht in the Mediterranean. It's one of the best whodunits of all time.
I don't recall.
So I'm a big fan of this genre. I don't think they've done a really kind of big budget whodunit film like this in a long time.
No.
And I don't know if it's going to work in our day of social media. Can they keep a secret to a movie like this? Do people have the attention span to walk into a movie and not want the mystery spoiled? Or I have a feeling people are going to be Googling it like, who did this anyway in the theater?
But then you never know. Like, what if they change some things around because they didn't want to be that faithful because they knew it's like, okay, we have this other one. People are just going to look it up.
With the source material.
It depends. The ending is so well known to Murder on the Orient Express.
Does everybody here know the end of Murder on the Orient Express?
I don't remember. It's been a long time.
Yeah, the ending is kind of ingenious.
But so, yeah, maybe they will change it just because of that.
I doubt it.
I think kind of if it's a whodunit, the people that want to know will know. The people that want to stay in the dark will stay in the dark. Like I will avoid everything before seeing this because I want to be along for the ride and try to figure out who did it.
I can just imagine a YouTube video coming up the morning of this film release saying, "Did you guess it was blank?"
And that'll be the title.
That'll be the title of the video. Right. So we'll see if you can keep a mystery or not.
Yeah. Well, there were some things where it's like warning headlines ahead, but then the picture is a spoiler in itself for these articles, right?
Right.
So even if you don't click on the link, the picture gives it away.
Yeah, I think this movie looks really good. I think it's got a great look to it. It looks fantastic. And Kenneth Branagh as a director has gone kind of a role since Thor and the Cinderella remake. So
he's always been a
and
favorite
Johnny Depp's the murder victim, right?
From what I saw of the trailer, he must be the one who gets murdered.
That might put people in the seats right there.
Yeah. Because him being the main guy doesn't seem to be doing it.
And if you are an Agatha Christie fan, and if you are, you've probably already seen it, but if you are a fan of whodunits, you should check out the original Murder on the Orient Express from 76, I think? 74,
I want to say 73.
Mid-70s.
76 was Dog Day Afternoon, so let's verify right now for our audience's sake.
All right, who's going to be right? I'm guessing 76.
Darren said 73.
74. Dog Day is 75.
Okay.
So it's the year before Dog Day. Serpico was 73. And The Offense.
Wow.
Anyways.
Lumet was making great movies a year in the 70s. That's outstanding.
You don't see that proliferation nowadays.
No. I can't imagine any other filmmaker who comes close to that. No. Woody Allen still makes a movie.
Woody Allen,
Yeah.
But not great ones.
Not masterpieces. Every now and then.
Yeah.
Okay, so that was, I'm excited about that. Are you guys getting excited about this? I plan on,
for sure,
hopefully talking you guys into reviewing it for the show.
Oh, for sure.
I have no problems with doing that.
I'll see it. And I know my wife wants to see it too, so.
Yeah, it's not till the fall. So.
Yeah. For me, personally, Johnny Depp these days basically means stay away from a movie more than go see a movie.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I'm afraid I'm kind of in that boat too. Okay, one more piece of news. I would just like to send out my congratulations to Terry Gilliam, who has finally wrapped filming on The Man Who Killed Don Quixote after, 35 years of trying to get this movie made. I think he first got involved in the property around 89 when he first envisioned the idea that he had. And I don't know if you guys have all seen the infamous documentary called The Man of La Mancha, which chronicles the last time he tried.
Lost in La Mancha.
Lost in La Mancha.
Yeah.
Sorry. Right. That's the Sophia Loren movie. When he tried to get this project off the ground, starring Johnny Depp, speaking of, and Jean Rochefort. Have you guys seen that?
Nope.
No. It's a great
It is one of the great behind-the-scenes documentary of a film falling apart. It's right up there with Hearts of Darkness for Apocalypse Now.
And is it directed by Terry Gilliam?
No, it started out as one of those kind of DVD special features, right? You just document behind the scenes, and it all went cataclysmically wrong, from weather to injuries to problems with financing. You name it.
There was tons of things happening there. But just this documentary just chronicles the collapse of this film so well. That's a fascinating watch.
So he tried to reboot it a few years ago, and the financing pulled out of that again, I think a few weeks before he was to start filming. So he started filming last year, and he eventually finished it just today.
Wow.
The new one is starring Jonathan Pryce as Quixote and Adam Driver taking the Johnny Depp role. It's kind of a twist on Don Quixote, kind of a present-day take of a man who has delusions like Don Quixote does and goes out on an adventure. I hope it's good. I mean, after all of these years of planning on it, you know, that would be a shame if it's one of his weaker films. But I always look forward to a Terry Gilliam movie.
Even his misses have something good to.
I remember absolutely loving 12 Monkeys when I could finally see it. And the reason I asked if he directed that documentary about the failure to make this is there's a really good making of documentary on 12 Monkeys too that I could be wrong, but I think he directed. So, and it's close to 2 hours, I believe. It's been a long time since I've seen it, but it was great to watch that. So
yeah, it's got the title something from the hamster cage or something in the title.
Yeah, it could be. I can't remember.
It's a great documentary. Yeah, for sure. Even if even if he didn't direct it, it's fantastic. And that's probably my favorite Gilliam film.
Yeah,
I love
fantastic.
a lot of his films, but that one and Brazil are probably my favorites.
12 Monkeys would be way up there.
Yeah.
Hard to beat that one.
I think Time Bandits was the first one I saw as a kid.
Yeah, I've missed a lot of his films too. Time Bandits I haven't seen.
Dr. Parnassus I haven't seen.
Adventures of Baron Munchausen?
No, I haven't seen either of those. I haven't seen The Fisher King.
I watched Zero Theorem. I was like,
Oh, that one was weak. That was his last one, yeah. That was not great. He also did The
Brothers Grimm.
Fear and Loathing, Brothers Grimm.
Oh, right. Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas.
Oh, of course.
That's one of his best.
Yeah, people love
Did
that.
he have anything to do with the Rum Diaries?
No.
The sequel?
No,
I didn't think so. Yeah.
But anyways, congrats to Terry. Good job after all of this time.
Hopefully it's worth it.
Okay. All right. Shall we move on to our feature review?
Yes. Shall.
Have you never met a man before? What about your father?
I had no father. I was brought to life by Zeus.
Right.
The gods made the Amazons to restore peace to the world. And it's what I'm going to do.
Well, that's neat.
Welcome to jolly old London.
It's hideous.
Yeah, it's not for everybody.
Woo.
Stay back. Or maybe not. Who is this woman?
You will soon find out.
Yep, that's not going to work. Please put the sword down.
It doesn't go with the outfit.
At all.
Wonder Woman was created by William Moulton Marston. She first appeared in All-Star Comics number 8, released in October of 1941. The film was directed by Patty Jenkins and stars Gal Gadot, Chris Pine, Danny Huston, David Thewlis, and Robin Wright. I'll give you my synopsis of the film. When the mythical Amazonian island of Themyscira is confronted with the outside world, Diana, their bravest warrior, teams up with an American pilot, Steve Trevor, to venture to the front lines of Europe in hopes of ending the horrors of World War I. Okay, I thought we'd just begin with our first thoughts. I'll begin. I think this movie is great. It has a nice blend of action, comedy, romance, drama. I think the performances are terrific. I think Gal Gadot is absolutely outstanding in this. She brings everything to the role that I would expect of this character. I love who she is. I love what she stands for in the film. I think the chemistry between her and Chris Pine plays out beautifully. It's got a strong supporting cast. I do think the third act and final battle drags on a bit. Probably the weakest part of the film for sure. But the whole fact that I'm finally seeing this character given her proper due, and that she's finally made it to the big screen in her own movie, I loved it. Darren?
Yeah, maybe I'm less enthusiastic than you, but I'd still say it's rather good. It felt a little Captain America-ish to me, and we can get through that later. But yeah, everything you said, solid acting. I find Gal Gadot is just electric every time she's on screen. She was the one and only shining point in Batman vs. Superman, and it's amazing that it took this long to get a Wonder Woman feature film, but it was worth the wait. It's very good.
Ivan?
No, I was a huge fan. I loved the movie. I honestly really had two kind of things that I was kind of about on it. One is kind of the same thing that's basically with almost all of these movies, superhero movies these days. And that's just the villains. But otherwise, I thought it was really good. They really put the spotlight on her, and she did a great job. She carried that movie.
Okay. Paul?
I really liked it. I couldn't say that I loved it. I couldn't even tell you why I didn't love it. Maybe on another view, which I probably say quite a bit, that I'll like it a little bit more. I thought it was weighted really well. I didn't think like some of the complaints that I've got with some movies where the humor seems forced in, the humor seemed on pace, like well timed. I thought there was great weight to the movie when it needed it, like serious moments. Like I thought one of the things that shone through probably the best was viewing our world in the time of war through an outsider's perspective and how absurd certain things must seem. Mm-hmm. And I thought that was portrayed very well. And I agree, Darren. I thought she's kind of stole Batman versus Superman. As soon as she came on, she was that breath of fresh air. She stole every scene she was in. And I was kind of wondering, okay, well, that was a portion of a movie that wasn't hers. Can that be carried through for a full 2 hours or more? And unquestioningly, absolutely, yes. Yeah, she was fantastic. And the supporting cast was really good. And importantly, nobody outshone her because she should be the focus. She shouldn't be the damsel in distress. She kicked ass when she needed to. I really enjoyed it, and this is absolutely what DC's universe needs. They need this shot in the arm, and this actually gives me hope for the future of this cinematic universe now.
Me too. I agree with all of that. Yeah, let's just talk about Gal Gadot for a minute. She is so good in this. She nails this character so well. And my favorite moments from this movie are all the non-action stuff. I loved all the opening stuff on the mascara. Mm-hmm. I loved her relationship with Chris Pine, the chemistry that those two have together.
I agree.
This movie reminds you why Chris Pine, how good he can be in certain things. Mm-hmm. I haven't enjoyed him, I think, this much since his first Star Trek. It's just, he's winning in this. Mm-hmm. But again, it's all through her eyes. You're totally right. She's charming in certain moments. She plays the fish out of water once they get to London so well without losing an ounce of her intelligence. And she's naive in certain ways. I mean, she's just pulling off everything so well.
And I was really concerned about her being Wonder Woman because, of course, she was a model coming into this. And the only other stuff that I've seen her in was Fast and Furious. And that's not really a stretch in your acting abilities. So
yeah, she has allayed all my fears and doubts.
She's not just a pretty face.
Right.
She is
dynamite
on screen.
Right. I hadn't seen the Fast and Furious movies. And when I first heard that they were casting an Israeli woman who was mostly known as being a model, boy, was I worried. But
yeah, same here. But she proved all of us wrong.
Absolutely. Yeah. I'll eat some crow on this one. She's
gladly
dynamic. She's as good as Henry Cavill as Superman or Ben Affleck as Batman. That's for sure.
Better for sure.
Mm-hmm. And I love the fact that everyone is, I don't know if you know, but of course Gal Gadot is Israeli. She has an Israeli accent. Mm-hmm. So for the shoot, because she's such a new actress, they didn't want to put too much on her. So they had everyone on the island convert to her accent. So Robin Wright is speaking with the same accent as Gal Gadot.
Okay. So
they just said, you stick with yours because you have more than enough going on trying to tackle this character. We'll all adapt to your language. So she didn't have to go out of her boundaries as an actress.
That worked well. That was a smart choice.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and everybody sounded right. You know, Israeli, Greek. It's all Greek to me.
Yeah. I was just going to say, and the fact that she is a supermodel kind of helps in that Wonder Woman is supposed to be the quote unquote ideal woman. So you see her on screen and you can understand why people would turn their head and instantly fall in love and just grab your attention. But you're so right in that she's so much more than that, because we've all seen movies where they cast on looks and not acting ability, which is the exact opposite of what I would do if I was in charge. But she's the complete package.
Yeah.
She comes across as super smart.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
She does.
She doesn't need to put those glasses on to look smart either.
No.
But I thought that was a nod to Superman.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Even catching the bullet.
Right.
Yeah.
This movie reminded me a lot of the first Christopher Reeve Superman movie, just in how simple and pure it wants to tell its story without any kind of muddling around. It's just, it's very kind of, it's kind of a basic story.
Yeah.
We're
Yeah, it
dealing
is.
with.
Yeah, for sure.
And yet it's told with such earnest. It's just won me over.
I agree. And that's actually one of the things that I like the most about it is that there were little nods to movies that happened before, like Batman versus Superman and whatnot. There was little nods, but it didn't beat you over the head so that even if you hadn't seen those movies, you could watch this movie and you know what's going on. Yeah, it's just got such a charm about it.
It was a really standalone movie aside from that picture and mentioning of Bruce Wayne.
They have this kind of bookends
Yeah.
with the present tense.
But I mean, but aside from that, it was all just standalone Wonder Woman. They didn't try and throw everything in to tie into the other movies. Or here's that picture that they mentioned Batman versus Superman, and the rest is all Wonder Woman.
And
It was nice to see a simple story.
What do you guys think of the World War I setting? I thought it was totally appropriate.
It was nice to see something other than World War II.
Yeah, exactly. So many of these things are World War II when they revisit.
World War I works, I think it works better in this because it was kind of the first technological war.
Yeah.
Kind of the first time that mankind had really upped the ante on war.
It could have come close to destroying itself.
Absolutely.
Really.
Like you said, through seeing the world through her eyes to see that kind of devastation and
loss
just,
and-
right. Anything else we want to talk about as the story goes? I agree with you, Ivan, but the villain, great villains are just so hard to come by. And you can't really knock a movie just because it doesn't have a great villain.
It would have been nice if they did something more to show the main villain. Give it something, because it just felt like in the end when they showed the main villain, there were so many monologues because they're almost like trying to catch up on like the last 2 hours of giving this character backstory by doing all these monologues in the end. And the other thing that kind of bothered me, I think we discussed it from the trailers, was the slow motion.
There was a lot of
Yeah.
There was a lot. There was a lot of unnecessary slow motion. It was like watching a John Woo movie at some parts.
So the weakest action scene was the finale, the big climax, the World War I in the trenches action scene. I had goosebumps during that scene.
Yeah.
That was
Yeah,
bloody
talk about
exciting.
that
But
after spoilers,
Yeah, but
the third act, you're right. For me,
it's its weakest.
it's the weakest part of the story.
But
It's-
that's-
as soon as the characters stop interacting with each other.
when you
for
have
me.
two gods, it was the same problem, Batman or Man of Steel. Two gods just beating the shit out of
I
each
thought
other.
you were going to say
It's-
Batman versus Superman, because that one, the ending kind of
But
reminded me
that
of that.
too.
It was very
That
dark
too, yeah.
and just, a lot of loud noise.
But really,
and-
even Marvel movies, when they have these over-the-top battle scenes, right?
It's nice when there's something to set it apart. Like the Doctor Strange finale at least had some wits to it.
The one thing I can understand them showing some of the scenes in slow motion as far as showing how fast she's moving,
It was necessary at times.
At times, but I would agree that maybe it was a little too much for sure. And the CGI, I don't think always looked spot on, but for the most part, I think it looked really good. And
I wouldn't complain about these special effects.
But there was some slow-mo that was just completely needless when it was just characters walking or just turning or something, right?
Yeah, just a style choice
Yeah.
more than anything.
You have to remember Patty Jenkins. He did a fantastic job with this.
Oh, yeah.
He's only directed one film before this, and that was Monster with Charlize Theron. So you couldn't talk about a more different jump to a different type of film.
And I'd say the action was more exciting in this than any of the previous DC films of the reboot. So I would credit Patty Jenkins.
And because you care more about the characters.
Because they
That
actually
helps too,
gave...
for sure, yeah.
The characters lived and breathed.
Yeah, and I
Right
agree
about
what you said. To me, none of the jokes, or I don't remember any of the jokes feeling forced to me.
I thought all the humor worked.
The humor
Yeah.
works, yeah, for sure.
All the stuff with Lucy Davis was really great. She's played Dawn on the original Office from the UK.
Yeah.
She played Etta Candy.
Yeah, she was great. She added that lighthearted balance.
She only had like 3-4 scenes as well, right?
Yeah, but that was all that you really needed.
True. Even that whole scene on the boat, even though it went on so long, it still worked. None of that felt forced to me, or they were just stretching it out. It was actually just really well done.
It felt like a conversation that two people in that situation would actually have.
It was maybe a little more modern than in 1916, a conversation like that would go, but it worked. And it was more believable than sailing from the Mediterranean to England overnight is believable. But that's another thing.
Yeah, I was thinking of that too. But there
Wonder
must have been
Woman moves real fast.
Must have been really windy for those days.
She's really good at sailing, I guess.
Exactly. So it sounded like we all enjoyed the movie to a certain degree, maybe some more than others. Okay, shall we get into spoiler territory and talk about the movie properly?
Spoilers.
Wonder Woman. Spoilers.
Okay, shall we talk about some of our favorite scenes? Darren, I think you already hinted at my favorite scene, and maybe everybody's favorite scene, which is Wonder Woman crossing no man's land in the trenches.
yeah.
Thrilling, absolutely thrilling scene.
And how metaphorical that it's called no man's land, and
Perfect.
it took a woman to
Absolutely. Fantastic.
Yeah.
It's, for me, I call them bit lip sequences. I'm not going to say I teared up, but I was like, it got me. It really got me. That moment got me.
Oh, it was emotional for sure.
It just had to do with the fact that we're seeing Wonder Woman on the screen, cinematically done right for the very first time. And it gave me goosebumps.
And they're trying to tell her, you can't do this. This is no man's land. And she's like, I am no man. And
of course, the setup to it is all great too, but I just mean that's the first time we really see her in uniform doing her stuff. And I just couldn't believe it's taken this long, so long overdue. And it just gave me chills.
And that's one thing that I loved is that you're right. She's stuck to character. She was there and people were trying to influence her and guide her. And even her closest allies, like Steve Trevor. It's like, yo, you can't do that. And she's like, who the hell are you to tell me that I can't do that? I'm going to go do this.
Yeah.
Because I'm a god.
And
see you later.
You guys know how I love the Marvel movies. Yet, with the introductions of Iron Man and Captain America and Thor on the big screen for the first time, I don't think I felt like I did watching this. It was different.
There was a little more weight to this one.
Yeah.
For sure.
It reminded me of the first time in the original RAVE Superman, when the first time he becomes Superman and flies in the air and catches the helicopter and saves Lois. And it's like Superman as Superman. And I kind of felt like that, like as a kid again. It's just like, wow,
I can see
they
that
did
for
it.
sure.
I had trepidation going into this movie. I'm not going to lie. Like, I was worried because we've been bitten by DC before having positive trailers, etc., leading up to a movie and then falling flat. And no, this one delivered and gave me everything I wanted. There might be minor quibbles about special effects or slow motion, but when you come to story, characters, and everything, it delivers. And I agree that No Man's Land battle sequence was amazing.
One of the other scenes that I really liked was when they bombed that town and they killed everyone, and Wonder Woman rushes over there and
With
she
the poison
sees,
gas.
yeah,
Yeah.
and she just sees the devastation, just sees what happened, and it's one of those, she gets angry, and it's like Steve is trying to kind of calm her down and be like, we have to stop this gas, because she's so dead set, Ares, but he's trying to get her to, she's a single-minded warrior, and he's trying to get her to think.
Well, she feels if she can kill this embodiment of evil, that all the evil in the world will disappear.
Yeah, but he's kind of trying to tell her, it's like, you know what? Some people are just evil.
Yeah, our world doesn't work like that.
Yeah. And he's trying to, but she's just single-minded. And even later on, when she thinks that she killed Ares, and all of a sudden everything's going on, it's almost like she's like, oh my God, maybe I'm wrong. It's not Ares. Men are just evil, and she almost kind of gives up. I thought that was just so well done, kind of showing this character from the beginning, kind of going as that young girl, wanting to grow up to be an Amazon, wanted to be a warrior just like everybody else, to really not understanding what war is like. And then she just gets like a reality check of like, this is war. This is what happens. This is why her mom didn't want to train her, didn't want her to experience this, because it's horrible.
And I was going to say through her relationship then with Chris Pine as well, realizing that humanity is worth saving despite all of this, despite the devastation of the gas attack on the innocent town. Like, another man could show her, well, no, this is what is good about humanity. And to me, that's what made the climax of the film too, when the slightly weaker action sequence is really helped by Chris Pine's presence, I think, too.
Their final moments together, how they played on that twice.
Yeah.
They did that moment. I thought that worked really well.
And I really loved the speech that Steve Trevor gave, just going back to what you were saying, Ivan, about just trying to clue her into how complicated the situation really is, that it's not just a single individual that must be stopped. Just his speech of her saying, do you not believe me? And him just basically saying, I believe you, but I wish it was as simple as one person stopping one person would stop all of this. But unfortunately, it's not like that. And I thought that was really good, because of course he's going to believe her. He's seen where she's from. He's seen, what influences she would have. But the character development and overarching story between the characters is definitely what pulls this movie together. And yeah, that final goodbye. And actually, that's one thing that I thought was interesting, where it kind of gives a little more weight to what you see in Batman versus Superman, where she sees that picture picture of them and you think, oh, maybe she wants that picture to get rid of the evidence that she's so old, but maybe not. Like, I'm thinking she wants that picture because that's the picture of Steve Trevor that she doesn't have. And it just, that sentimentality and that kind of love lost.
Shall we talk about the death of Steve Trevor?
Sure.
Did you guys all see that coming? Obviously, he's not going to live to be 140 years old or whatever to still be around in our present universe. So I was expecting him to bow out some way. How they handled that was pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, he was heroic, and he made the right sacrifice, and like I said, it helped her.
Right. I don't think he's going to crash and be buried in ice and
be resurrected.
Probably
No.
not. I think we've seen the end of Steve.
Yeah,
Trevor.
they've said he's
I
not
would
coming
say so,
back.
Is that right? Yeah.
And I think that was the right choice, right story arc. It gives weight to his sacrifice. And I was really, really hoping they weren't going to do the stereotypical, oh, guess what? He bailed out at the last second.
Yeah.
And I was dreading
Kinda thing
that they were
would've
going to
killed
do
it,
that.
No
Yeah.
movie was smarter than to do that.
Yeah. And I'm so glad that, yeah, like you said, Darren, they were smarter than that.
And one question: the plane was filled with explosives, right? Not
No,
the
it was
poison
filled
gas.
with that. It was the poison gas.
Yeah.
Really?
But because the poison gas was made of hydrogen, it was flammable.
Right. So the gas dissipated with the explosion.
The hydrogen would have burned up. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just making sure he wasn't
Releasing
genociding
it.
countries. Yeah. Should we talk about that character of Dr. Poison? Did we find her interesting?
I liked her.
Mm-hmm.
I
She's
thought she
actually
was
she's a real character from the comic books from way back in the 40s. Yeah.
I thought she was more interesting than the other
The general.
two, like
Yeah,
the
and Danny
general
Houston's
and
character?
yeah. Like they were fine. They served their purpose, but I found she was more engaging and interesting for
Yeah.
me.
She's who I would thought was going to be Ares when the obvious red herring of Danny Houston was discounted. I thought,
Yeah.
okay, well, it's either her or David Thewlis for sure, but I was kind of surprised it wasn't her.
Alina Anaya is the actress who plays her. We just saw her in a Almodovar film not too long ago, The Skin I Live In.
Okay.
She was the girl from that. who
Right.
Gets her identity changed.
Yeah, that's
And then
the same character.
Yeah,
I guess.
I thought that was weird. Yeah, she was pretty interesting. Danny Houston does what he can in the role.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's a good actor, but it's
They don't give
a
him a lot.
two-dimensional role.
Right.
Yeah.
And then there's the character of David Thewlis, who I
Another
forget
pretty
his name.
two-dimensional.
When he appeared, did we see where he might be going in the
Wasn't it
story?
like Patrick or something like that, or Minister Patrick or something like
Yeah,
that. Anyways, doesn't matter.
some sort of official.
I kind of pegged it actually. Like he had one line that I thought, okay, you're Ares.
He's too good an actor not to bring back.
Yeah,
some
to be
Yeah,
capacity.
somebody.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought that was interesting. I love the look of Ares. Are you guys familiar with the comic books much?
Yeah.
A little bit.
A big source for the inspiration to this, I think, was George Perez's run on Wonder Woman. He did that in the early 90s, and he invented the name for the mascara and a lot of the look of the Amazonians and changed her backstory a bit. Like, George Perez was really interested in Greek mythology, so if you're interested in that aspect,
And he's such
you can learn
great
a lot. Yeah,
He's such a great artist. Like he's
Fantastic.
one of my favorites for
Mhm.
sure.
yeah, probably my favorite comic book artist as a kid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's really interesting. But to be honest, I was a little disappointed with the look of Ares and not even necessarily the design, just to be honest, because when he shows up, it's pretty dark.
Oh, well,
And with
especially
the
in 3D.
with
yeah.
the gray haze of the glasses,
Uh-huh.
I couldn't really make out a lot of the detail because I love the character design that I've seen of George Perez's,
Right.
and that's what I was hoping they're going to go for. And I couldn't really make out a lot of the details. So that's one thing that I'm looking forward to maybe focusing on and analyzing on another watch.
I found him a little generic looking personally. To me, he was interchangeable with Sauron from Lord of the Rings or almost any other
I can see that.
medieval / armored villain.
I'll agree with that. He does look like Sauron, but George Perez came up with that look, so maybe Peter Jackson stole it from him.
Maybe, sure, but yeah, it seems that every movie of this nature, the guy looks like that, and it's
Maybe.
to my eyes.
When he uses his fingertips for the eye holes on the
that was
helmet,
pretty cool.
Yeah, I like that, but I wanted the armor to be more defined. Like, have it actually look like medieval armor more, maybe. Because I was really hoping that the fight was going to be more swords dueling versus that whole he's just like shooting lightning and throwing shit at her. Like, I wanted like them to actually go swords at each other, you know.
That might have been more interesting than what it was. Yeah.
More skill than brute strength.
Exactly, right?
Did you guys think that the film dragged at all for its 2 hour and 20-minute running time?
Not for me.
For me, only maybe a bit during that final fight.
For me too,
But
yeah.
aside from that, no, I thought it was well paced.
But at least during that final fight, there was other things going on with those other guys and then Steve Trevor.
And I think that's why it didn't drag for me, is there was enough other stuff going on. Because if they had just focused on that, yeah, I think I would have found that.
The team of multi-ethnic sidekicks that
Right.
Captain America, Wonder Woman brings along.
I was thinking of that too. It does have the guy from Trainspotting Spotting, Spud. Ewan Brenner. He's a good actor.
But he was amazing what they did with him, though. Like, they kind of have him that loudmouth moron kind of guy who was a sniper. Mm-hmm. They also showed that one scene that actually gave him that bit the weight to his character where he's just doesn't want to shoot people anymore because he's just killed so many people. Yeah.
That was amazing. That was a nice touch to that character.
And even with the chief, right? When they're like, I have nothing left. All my people were killed. By who? By his people. And he points to Steve Trevor and she's like, what?
Yeah, some nice touches of humanity. Yeah. The dark side of humanity.
Mm-hmm. Played by a native actor named Eugene Braverock. I saw that in the credits. I was like, I wish I had a name like that.
Yeah.
Eugene? You want to be called Eugene?
That's fine. Darren, shall we talk about the Captain America reference that you wanted to? Did you find too many similarities between this?
Well, there's the big, ridiculously large plane for its era, figuring largely in the climax. Sure. There's the team of multi-ethnic sidekicks who are there to just push the plot along at the right moment.
And the characters are somewhat... They do have their parallels, for sure.
They do, yeah. I mean, I guess she's more akin to Thor than Captain America, but the fact that they're both based in a major world war early in the 20th century.
And the decency of the character, too, of both characters.
Yeah.
And a person at a time, too, right? Like, they're both fish out of water kind of element, too. Yeah.
But, I mean, they're not terrible parallels either, so, I mean...
Yeah, of course, both created during World War II as well, so...
And you can't... I mean, if there was a direct influence from Captain America, the First Avenger, well, that's a good movie to draw.
Which movie did you like more between the two? It's kind of funny because I'm a huge Captain America fan too, and I love that first movie. And I was kind of thinking, which one do I like?
I might edge out Wonder Woman over this.
Yeah, me too.
I mean, I love the Captain America sequels, but the first one a little less so. So yeah, I mean, this might be a little bit better than.
Yeah, it's a tough call.
They're close.
Yeah. I guess what Captain America has going for is that the fight in the end, which is better than this one, which was just a giant clusterfuck.
Yeah, that was a better fight at the end of Captain America.
Right.
And they also did a very good job of building Steve Rogers as that kid that just always wanted to do the right thing. And same with Wonder Woman, how they did such a great job of building her as a character that, you can see the similarities easily.
Yeah. You hate to use the word kind of like...
goody-goody.
Right. Because that's the thing I love about both characters are, even though they're both so earnest and steadfast, they're warriors, both of them. Captain America will kill people in his movies. Wonder Woman, I think she kills a few people in this movie. She definitely does.
Oh, yeah.
She takes out that guy in the sniper in the tower. Yeah. That's awesome.
Shatters the church. Yeah.
They're not as altruistic as, say, non-Zack Snyder Superman, where he's Captain White Bread and American Apple Pie and,
there you go. Right. They still both have their lethal side to them, which is cool.
They, even in The Winter Soldier, they made reference to that when he was talking about, I read about you guys, Greatest Generation. You guys did some sick shit. Yeah, we did some things that compromised our morals, but it was to make the world a better place.
Right. Are there any other particular scenes that jumped out at you guys that you want to talk about?
I thought Robin Wright Penn was on that fight scene on the beach. It was amazing, just the action sequence that they gave her. Like, even just building her character in that little span that they had before she died. You actually cared when she died because they actually did such a good job of building her up in that short window there.
Robin Wright is such a great actress. Yeah, she does a lot with that character in the limited amount of screen time. And I thought the look of Themyscira was pretty great. Just the look of the Amazonians and how they feel like they've been there for thousands of years.
A well-thought-out world.
Yeah, it wasn't quite as flashy as Asgard from the first Thor movie. How that has kind of a shinier approach. This one seemed more grounded in realism.
Yeah, it feels like where an ancient Greek society would live. Is there an explanation? I don't know if comes from the comics or what, but how easily all these ships and planes are able to find the island, this hidden protected island that they all just kind of fly into.
But those guys just kind of randomly hit upon it.
They were the first lucky ones in history.
From what we see, it was completely accidental. Go straight
through the Mediterranean.
I think if we got the Germans' point of view, they would have saw Steve Trevor's plane actually disappear through the barrier, and they just kind of followed him in. I think it was purely accidental, is what they're saying.
Yeah,
that the German just kind of sticks his face through it.
Because even though at one point they were saying turn around because of the fog is so thick, but they're like, no, you have to keep going to find
the pilot went this way.
Yeah, because
the fog wasn't just an accident of that night.
Yeah,
it was always there. I see.
Yeah, okay. So it's more kind of like deterrent for people to turn around and go away because it's too dangerous.
Yeah. For me, I like when she takes out that entire town, basically, all on her own. I thought that was pretty effective.
That was the extension of the No Man's Land scene, right?
For sure.
It was one long sequence.
Well, that scene was more emotional for me that whole sequence was just technically the best action sequence in the movie for me. How it was done. And she was showing her true mettle in that. It's fantastic.
For me, it was...
And as she's going throughout the movie, it's like every time she does something, she's a little surprised at how powerful she really is. And she keeps up in the ante as the movie goes. It's pretty neat. So almost the last shot, where are we almost getting the hint that she has the ability to fly?
Or at least tall buildings in a single bound.
Yeah.
Because the Wonder Woman from the comic books can fly.
Yeah, which makes it just pointless.
Right.
Well, and it's even like that scene on Themyscira at the beginning where she is very much just starting to discover her powers, where she brings her gauntlets together and there's that burst that comes out of them. Where
it's too bad they never explain that.
The bracelets of Athena? I think in the comic books, it's they're made from Athena's shield.
But they never really go into it. She just has them.
For me, there were so many good scenes that, to be quite honest, other than the No Man's Land scene, the others were great. The only other scene that sticks out is just because it was just kind of generic, is the fight at the end. The rest I thought were great and almost on par with that No Man's Land. Like, it was
like
just
you say,
all
not just
really
the
well
action
done.
scenes, but the dramatic comic scenes too were all fantastic. I was always enthralled.
I would even say the one scene when she's in that room with all those generals and everything, and she's telling them that she reads Sumerian and ancient Greek, and they're just like, but you're a woman.
And when she's telling that one general what for, about what it means to be a general,
calling him out,
where she comes from,
just
pretty great.
But that's what I was saying earlier, is that I love that she never let anybody kind of impose their will on her. Even when she meets up with the ragtag group that ended up being her friends, the sniper, and she's like, oh, so you fight without honor. Like, even calling out people that are supposed to be her allies. So I really like that.
She's learning as she goes.
Some people are saying how she's letting Steve Trevor lead her around, but she's like, well, no, she's new in this world. She kind of doesn't know where she's going.
But there's points where she's pulling away from what he wants to do.
There's never a moment in the film where they give him
power over her.
Right. No. For sure. She's always in control.
Yeah. Especially that part in the alley, right? When they get jumped. You know, he's like trying to protect her. She's like, seriously? She's kind of looking at him like, why are you telling me to step away? Like, I'm going to wreck these guys.
That's what I mean. She's a warrior at heart. She relishes the combat. Yeah, all in all, as much as I'm a fan of the Marvel movies and everything, I'm glad that Wonder Woman got the first big female-led superhero movie. It should have always been this way. It was supposed to be this way.
I can't think of a more iconic female superhero than Wonder Woman.
Absolutely. Just ignoring all the special effects, which of course is nice, and all the CGI and stuff. You could have done this movie in the 80s. You could have done this movie in the 90s, in the 70s. Just about any time this Wonder Woman story would have worked. Just like the Christopher Reeve Superman movie worked. And
because it was about characters.
It's just unbelievable that it's taken this long.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, I'm glad that all the little girls in the world have a Wonder Woman movie that they can watch and grow up and see and enjoy. But frankly, I'm just happy for myself. This is a movie I wanted to see for a very long time. And I think the whole idea that men aren't interested in movies with female-led centric hero is just ridiculous.
Yeah,
you know, you can give us a little bit more credit than that. And obviously by the box office numbers this weekend, we're proving them wrong, because this movie is going to be a massive success.
And not just that, the movie never really felt, to me, the movie never felt gratuitous. Like, even though they were on that island filled with women, there was no gratuitous shots of like all the Amazons like bathing or something. You know what I mean? Even with like Wonder Woman with her suit, it never did any like, you know, those pervy shots of her bending over or something.
Sure, right. There's no Michael Bay shots.
With a better director, there would have been.
We would have seen her Twin Peaks.
Oh, boys.
The Double D Diner would be serving pie.
Okay, before we get off Wonder Woman, don't say that.
You want to get off Wonder Woman?
I think Darren just... I think Darren,
you might over rehab.
I think Darren just won the podcast.
Before we move on, where do we see the future of this character? Where do you guys want to see Wonder Woman in future? Obviously, she's going to be in the Justice League movie, and we'll see how well she works with the team. But what do we want to see in a Wonder Woman 2?
I would like to give her an adversary that's worthy. You know, give a really strong villain. You know, not just physically. Let somebody push her beyond, like, even her mental, even because she's supposed to be so smart and so intelligent.
Make her question what she believes. Put her in that morally ambiguous situation where she really has to challenge herself and consider, because a good sequel or second chapter will make this character grow. And as we saw that progression of the character in this movie, don't halt that growth of the character, keep that growth going.
No, she's not fully formed yet at the end of the movie.
And that was the best thing they did with Captain America, was have him question his beliefs and where he thought he came from and should be going. So
one thing that they have to answer in the sequel is, well, what time period would you guys want to see it in? Present tense? I think they have some explaining to do what Diana's been up to since World War I up until present tense, if she's been engaged with our world.
I want to see her through the ages. I mean, we're going to see her enough in Justice League and see her enough in the modern world that we'll get a sense of where she's at now. Her individual stories, I want to see exactly that. How does she become the warrior that we see step on the...
Yeah, especially since nobody ever heard of Wonder Woman, and yet she was doing her hero thing. Like,
I don't
explain
know how
that a bit.
Answering some of those questions. One thing I was thinking of when I was watching this with her kicking ass in World War I was how much I'd like to see a Justice Society of America movie set in World War II. Like when she's first talking about in the movie about getting some recruits, I was thinking, oh no, wrong war. Because I was thinking it could be like Dr. Midnight or Hourman or some of these classic JSA figures from the 40s that they might bring in. But no, wrong war.
Not yet.
Yeah. I would love for this DC universe to take off and actually think about doing something like that. Like a Justice Society movie in World War II. See, like old Superman, like taking out like U-boats and Nazi, like the Luftwaffe. And that'd be pretty cool.
I'd love to see this DC universe take off, like we said so many times before, be an actual challenge to Marvel, push Marvel to make better movies. Like, we've liked the majority of their movies, but sharpen their edge, make them kind of fight to keep that market share. And this is the kind of movie that'll keep Marvel on their toes, I think.
Without mimicking what Marvel's doing.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Do your own thing.
Make Marvel push the boundaries versus just kind of following the same formula for every movie.
Right, and this didn't feel like a Marvel movie, which was what I was worried DC was going to try to do.
Except for Captain America.
Well, yeah. But I just mean, like, tonally, it never felt like it was Marvel light or a cheap imitation. It felt like its own entity.
For me, what I liked is it's so different from Suicide Squad and Batman versus Superman.
Yeah.
As the DCU goes, it's its own thing.
Yes.
And they're saying, well, from now on, our Flash movie or Green Lantern movie can do whatever we want.
Especially when you have the different characters, like the Flash is more of a light character. So don't have the Flash be in a movie like Batman versus Superman where it's like dark and gritty.
Do a full-on Flash comedy?
Not a comedy, but...
You could have a lot of comic elements with that.
You could, but also you can also have like the comic, kind of like Wonder Woman, have the comedy that works with a serious story. Then
does the show Flash play on the funny a lot?
Oh yeah.
It does it? Yeah.
Oh yeah. It's a lot more lighthearted than Arrow.
Yeah, definitely.
For sure. And maybe a little more cheesy. It arguably pulls it off a lot better, but yeah, it's definitely a lot more lighthearted. But yeah, getting the tone right is so good because otherwise you end up with a Joel Schumacher Batman, which just is wrong.
With the gratuitous butt shot.
Yeah.
And I think bringing Jenkins back is really important too, because
definitely.
I know when you see the credit, there's a lot of screenwriters getting credit. Zack Snyder and Alan Heinberg, I think, are the two main for the story. But from what I've heard, Patty Jenkins wrote most of the script. Her and Jeff Johns kind of reworked it, and most of probably everything we love, including all the character beats, is all her. But because of all the writers, it takes a lot to get your name on a screenplay due to all the arbitration rules. So, yeah, she's probably going to be, not only directing, but writing the sequel too. So I think she's a must to have back.
Yeah,
I agree.
Good. And she said she knows exactly where it's going to take place and what's going to happen.
Before it seems like they had too many cooks in it, but this one they also had just few. This one's kept to like 3 or 4, which is good.
It seems like one vision put up on screen.
I remember some reports how the movie was a giant mess.
That shows that you can't trust all those bullshit stories that come out.
With Batman vs Superman and Suicide Squad, you can easily tell there was so much interference and recutting and all this. This one, I wouldn't say I had anywhere that happened.
From what I hear, there are no deleted scenes. Pretty much they shot the script, and Patty Jenkins said, certain trims were made, certain scenes, but not one scene was excised from the film.
Wow.
So if you're waiting for deleted scenes, keep waiting.
So just might be slightly extended.
Which means they had a solid script to go in with, right? Obviously, they knew what they wanted to do, and they went with it, and it was a tight script, and it all worked. And take this as a lesson, guys, before you make your next movie.
And this is the first one, other than Batman versus Superman, that I want to see more, and for the exact opposite reason that I love so much. I just want to see more.
Yeah.
Whereas Batman versus Superman needed that to make what it was showing make sense.
Are we all a little more excited for Justice League?
More hopeful.
It's still a Zack Snyder movie, so
At least she'll be in it.
yeah, exactly.
But then,
Slash
for
Joss
me,
Whedon.
like I said, I still liked Batman versus Superman, and
Did you like Wonder Woman more, though?
I think my love of Batman really skews it for me, I would say, which I think all you guys probably know that.
I have a love of Batman, but they didn't get it right. So I would put this because it, like we said, it was that concise vision. It was that solid vision. And as a movie, it was a lot more enjoyable. There's elements of Batman versus Superman that I really like, but there's elements of that movie that I legitimately hate.
Yeah.
And I couldn't say that about this. There's stuff that I think, too bad there's too much slow motion. That's such a minor
It
quibble.
is. And then our other biggest thing is just like the overblown CGI fight, which is in every other movie, so you can't knock it for it.
Overall,
Top notch.
yeah, they knocked it out of the park.
I'd see it again in a heartbeat.
Yeah. All right. I think we've covered that film pretty well.
Back to front.
I thought it was great. I loved the movie, and I look forward to seeing it again on disc.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I look forward to seeing it in the theater.
Yeah.
Hopefully not 3D.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, why don't we move on to our rant and rave segment now? Ivan, you want to start?
Sure. I'll do a bit of a rant. So my rant section here is a movie that I recently watched, The Hollow Point. So it's Patrick Wilson, Ian McShane, John Leguizamo, Lily Collins, and John Belushi.
Or Jim Belushi.
Yeah, Jim Belushi.
Oh. That was something. How old is this movie?
Yeah, it was a Netflix movie. I watched it because it has a stacked cast and seemed like it could have been pretty good. But honestly, it really wasn't. It seemed like they were trying to kind of capture the whole No Country for Old Men type feel.
So it's like a crime thriller?
Yeah. Cops, money goes missing. They're trying to figure it out. This mysterious killer kind of going around that seems to be a total badass nobody can stop. But honestly, never lived up to that. There was a few parts here and there where some things actually caught me by surprise that they did this in the movie. But honestly, never really took off. Lily Collins as the lead female was so poorly written. Because they made her like a shrew, always complaining, always doing this. Like, you promise you're going to bring this person home. And it's like, this guy dropped like shit ton of bags of cement on my head and cut the guy up. What the fuck do you want me to do? Then the guy lets the water go. So the cement starts kind of pouring on them. So he can barely breathe. And she's like, so what? And then later on, she bitches about something else. Well, this guy was going to take me out of this town, give me a new life. Just constantly complaining about everything. That was just how the character was written. And Ian McShane was great, but that's pretty much it. It was just not a very good movie. They tried to make it No Country for Old Men and they failed.
Lofty goals to shoot for.
Yeah,
for sure.
So I don't recommend it. It's really not that great.
Okay. That was The Hollow Point?
Yeah.
Okay.
Another one. I guess this one's going to be a rave. Have you guys ever watched Identity?
With John Cusack?
Yeah.
A long time ago, yeah.
Directed by James Mangold.
Yeah, I watched it a long time ago. I really liked it, and I watched it recently again because I just saw that it was on Netflix. I'm like, fucking hey, I want to watch this again. Man, I really like that movie.
I haven't seen
These
it
guys
since the
like it?
theater,
Yeah.
but I remember.
And all of you guys have seen it?
Yeah.
It drove me a little crazy the first time I saw it, but we can't talk about it because it's so spoiler heavy. But
Yeah, because you can't really discuss anything about this movie because
it's one of those movies when they explain what's going on. To me, it was impossible to figure out beforehand, and I hate movies that kind of cheat like that. There's no way you could have figured out the ending of the movie with the information they gave you.
Yeah,
I can see that.
Yeah,
but I still really liked it.
But on
I
a
just-
rewatch, I'd seen it again, and yeah, it's good. It's got a good cast.
Oh, a stacked cast. Like, I really enjoyed that movie. And I've, like I said, I watched it a couple of times, and I definitely recommend for all you guys that like one of those mystery thriller movies where you're just really not sure what's going on and where the story's going.
Yeah, the movies that kind of fold back on themselves.
Yeah.
Another one, really good one, is called Triangle. Kind of similar to
Yeah,
that.
and Frailty.
Oh, yeah.
Frailty was really good. I
I
liked
loved Frailty. Matthew McConaughey, Bill Paxton.
Paxton.
Powers
Directed
Booth,
by-
right? So that's another one. So I
Okay.
guess that's a second rave
right.
for me.
Okay.
So yeah, if you guys get a chance, sorry I couldn't really tell you more about these movies because any details I go into is very much spoilers.
No identity is impossible. A bunch of people are stranded at a hotel in the middle of a rainstorm, and murders start happening.
Yeah.
And that's a great setup for
Yeah,
the film.
that's
So
nice.
And-
take the recommendation and,
And
watch
with Frailty is basically a guy gets a message from God to kill demons.
Right. That's a much deeper film, though.
Oh,
Yeah.
huge.
Yeah.
But so well done.
There you go.
So that's it for me.
3 good picks. Or 2 good ones, anyways. Paul, what do you got today?
I have 3 things as well. 2 of them actually all 3 will probably be pretty quick hits. 2 are ones that you guys have mentioned before on the podcast. One, something new. So with Wonder Woman in theaters, I had the itch to watch the 2009 animated movie again, which I quite liked. The first time I saw it, it's got a very good voice cast. It's got Kerry Russell in the lead role. Nathan Fillion plays Steve Trevor, and Rosario Dawson plays one of the supporting warriors. I find this one really interesting because it focuses a lot more heavily on the mythology part of her. It does come into the modern day when she encounters man's world, but not nearly as much. It's more to do with the characters on Themyscira. So it's quite enjoyable. It's an interesting take on her, and at the time, there was not a live action movie in the works that was going to happen anytime soon, so it's all we had. And yeah, it's a really solid animated movie. I
all Wonder Woman centric.
No, it's all
Steve Trevor,
her.
right?
Yeah, no, I mean other superheroes.
No, just her.
Just her.
Oh, cool.
Just her.
And once again, Ares as the main villain. I agree with Paul. I really liked that movie as well, and they did the ice cream thing there as well.
Yeah.
And there's another
you
part.
You should be proud of yourself. Yeah, I think it's definitely worth checking out if you got the time. Yeah. So that's the first one, which is a mild rave. Like I said, I wouldn't say I love it, but I would definitely not discourage anybody from seeing it.
You're an overall fan of the DC animated division?
For the most part, they've got a couple different storylines currently going on. I don't love them all, but they're interesting. I'd say their animated division is a lot stronger than Marvel's, and I've always loved Bruce Timm's work, and he was one of the main people behind Batman the Animated Series, which is still my favorite incarnation of that character. I just love that. They do some interesting work. They're not all hits, but they're not afraid to try some different stuff. Like they've recently tried to do Justice League Dark, which I liked quite a bit. They take some chances, maybe not as many as you'd like. And recently they did the huge Teen Titans story arc, The Judas Contract, which I thought was okay. I could see how it would play out better in a comic book.
It was much better done in the comic.
Because you can give it time to grow.
The long play.
Sure. Yeah.
Not an hour and a half movie.
Yeah, the storyline took years in the comics to play out properly. And I remember reading as a kid and just being floored by it.
And George Perez again.
George Perez and Marv Wolfman. And the Paradox, Flash Paradox. Really well.
Flashpoint Paradox, and of course, recently their Dark Knight.
Oh, fantastic.
Fantastic.
That's a whole other
level. Yeah. So then the other 2 things I have, you guys have mentioned these on the podcast before, but I thought I'd just weigh in on what my thoughts were. Now that I'm not watching 24 hours of Twin Peaks every day, I thought I'd
school. You're on summer break.
I thought I'd catch up with a couple movies that I was really interested in seeing, one of them being M. Night Shyamalan's Split. I quite liked it. It was kind of refreshing for it to not be just centered on a twist. I thought there was some interesting shot composition in there that kind of kept you guessing, and framing of characters in certain ways. Not great by any means, but an enjoyable watch, which I think is what you guys have both said before. Like, it's not going to blow your socks off by any means, but
a solid film from him.
Oh, definitely.
For sure. Yeah. My wife and I watched it not that long ago, and we both really enjoyed it. So, yeah, definitely worth checking out. And then the other one I watched, which previously on the podcast was mentioned by Ron and Darren, and they are very split on this, is La La Land.
Okay.
So we watched it, and
let's find out who's right, Darren.
Spoiler alert, it's not you, Ron.
Oh. Damn.
I wouldn't say by any stretch of the imagination that I love this movie, nor would I think that it would be or should have won the Best Picture. I enjoyed this movie, and I liked the chemistry of the main characters a lot more than you did, Ron. I think I would have to say that I'm not as well versed in musicals, so maybe I'm more willing to just take it at face value as far as it. Basically, it's a movie with musical numbers. It's definitely not sweeping you off your feet. It's definitely modernized, and the main characters have a very adversarial relationship at times. I thought they did some really interesting things with special effects and just, story elements and whatnot. I don't disagree that Emma Stone doesn't have a fabulous singing voice, but I thought it was good enough for what they asked her to do.
All right.
I agree with that for sure, Paul.
Yeah.
I thought the movie was charming enough. I guess the thing major criticism of it, I would say, is that the whole time I was watching it, I was thinking, does this need to be a musical? I never once got the impression that it needed to be a musical. I thought maybe it was a musical just to kind of set it apart. And sure,
musicals are audience pleasers, I guess, and that's why it was made as a musical. But
and I would say that's the only thing that kind of set it apart. Like, if you remove the musical element, it's just kind of.
Would you even want
to me, the reason that you're making a musical is because you have great music and you have great songs that are worthy of making a musical.
Right.
Hum me anything from the movie.
Unforgettable.
Right.
Sure, but at the same time, how many songs could I hum off the top of my head from Carousel right now?
I don't know.
Or Kismet, or, classic musicals. They're not great songs, but they're good. They're solid.
All my favorite musicals, I have numbers from each one that stick with me.
Sure, but this doesn't have to be one of your favorites. It can still be a solid musical.
But then again, if none of those numbers stick with you, then that's also saying a lot.
To me, that's like saying, I just saw this Bruce Lee movie. I kind of liked it. All the martial arts suck, but
the story was good.
Right. I mean, no,
well, and that's what I was saying is that I never got the sense that it absolutely had to be a musical. And I think, Darren, you were the first one to even bring the movie up, and you were saying that the music was good, but it wasn't great, and there was nothing really lasting. And I totally agree with that.
Yeah, the songs didn't stay with me, but they were fun while they were happening, and they were all staged incredibly well.
Yeah, I agree. So overall, I liked it more than you, Ron. Probably liked it as much as you, Darren. It was good. We enjoyed it. It was a good escape.
It's fun, light, whimsical, delightful entertainment.
Yeah, exactly.
I will never probably watch it a second time, but I liked it. It was good entertainment.
Yeah, and I'd second that. I don't think I ever need to see it again, which, considering it damn near won the Oscar, is saying something.
Very close.
Yeah, but so I just thought I'd weigh in with my thoughts on those two.
Cool. So it was La La Land, Split, and Wonder Woman, the animated movie.
Yes, sir.
Excellent. Okay, I'll go next. First thing I want to review is a show that just premiered last night on HBO following Twin Peaks. It's called I'm Dying Up Here. It's created by David Flabot and Jim Carrey, and it's based on a nonfiction book by William Nodelsetter. The show is set in 1973 and explores the world of stand-up comedy and how many comics flock to LA in hopes of getting a shot at The Tonight Show. It stars Melissa Leo, Al Madrigal, Ari Grainer, Clark Duke, Alfred Molina, and, in a brief appearance, Sebastian Shaw. It was a pretty decent pilot, as HBO movies or HBO shows go. It definitely got me interested in watching more of it. I'm very interested in that world and that scene. Very hard to get right, some of these backstage industry things, like remember Studio 60? That's Aaron Sorkin.
I love that.
Right? Oh, you liked the show, though? You thought it worked?
Studio 60?
Yeah.
I haven't seen it since it aired, but I loved it at the time.
Right. For me, the show might suffer from the same thing as that one, which is anytime you're doing a show based with stand-up comics, kind of that world of comedy or world of entertainers, you're going to have two writers on the show, right? You have to have a writer who can write the dramatic stuff with the story and the characters, and then when these comics get on stage, they have to be funny. And if you can't write good stand-up comedy, then your show isn't going to work. And for me, aspects of the show that work the least are the people when they're up telling jokes, right?
Problem is
the audience is laughing and you're not, and you're like, ugh.
Yeah, well, good stand-up comic spends a year honing their material, so to just whip together scripts in a couple of months,
right?
It's got to be very tough to make the comedy work.
And like you said, those guys travel around. They're trying to tell different ways of telling the joke until they perfect it and find a way it works. Well, these guys just get the script, practice it a bit, and then go up on stage. So it's not really their joke, right? They're just reading lines.
That's what I mean. Most of the people playing the comics are actors.
Yeah.
They're not comics.
And with the artifice of shooting a movie or a TV show, you don't get a real audience reaction to the laughs either. It's
very true.
The audience is acting as much as the actors are on stage.
Right. You know, there's a moment where a comic is kind of dying and she's doing poorly, and then she gets the audience on her side, and then big applause at the end. Except for me, the material didn't get any better. It was written at the same time. So it's like, even though I'm supposed to be enjoying it and laughing more, I wasn't. But for a show that's based on stand-up, it's maybe 10% of the show so far. Most of it is behind-the-scenes stuff. And you know what it reminds me of is Vinyl, another show from HBO that took place in the 70s, which was kind of a particular slice of the entertainment business. I hope the show has longer legs than that one, which was canceled after one season. It's almost like they took all the sets and props and and said, okay, let's make another movie on the 70s. Found a way to reuse it. Right. So anyways, it's just one episode, but I thought it was interesting enough for me to check it out, and I'll let you know what I think of going in the future.
No, hopefully it gets better.
Or it just stays at the same consistency.
Decent level.
Yeah, as HBO, I'm paying for it. I may as well watch these shows. My next one is a mixture of a rant and rave. Not much of either. It's Miss Peregrin's School for Peculiar Children. Mm-hmm. I finally caught up with that one. Directed by Tim Burton, of course. Stars Asha Butterfield, Eva Green, Chris O'Dowd, Terrence Stamp, and Samuel L. Jackson. Did you know he's in this?
I did.
Yeah, I've actually.
He's in
I watched it actually a couple of days ago as well.
When he showed up, I was like, what? I'll give you the synopsis. It's the story of a boy named Jacob who journeys to an isolated island to learn the truth about his grandfather's strange death. There he discovers a fantastical school filled with children with unique abilities. For me, I read this book a few years ago, and I enjoyed it quite a bit. And as I was reading it, I was like, Tim Burton. This is all him, right? He has to make this movie. And then when he was signed to do it, I was like, oh, Kismet, right? I don't know if he's great, if he is the perfect choice for this. I've been such a fan I've seen all of Tim Burton's work, and of course he excels at the visual flair, right? The fantastical. But for me, his best movies are really about character, whether it's in Edward Scissorhands or Edward Bloom from Big Fish or Ed Wood. His
the
best
Edwards
films
is really what he's best at.
Right. Maybe. Right. And I found this was a little bit too much like Alice in Wonderland, where I was impressed by the visual nature of it, but not much else. A little boy, I don't know if there's enough really good child actors anymore, but from the Jungle Book to other movies I've seen recently, none of them pop off the screen to me. And he's got to carry this movie, and he doesn't do it justice.
And I found his character development to kind of go pretty quick.
Have you seen it?
Yeah, I watched a couple of days ago. Mm-hmm. It kind of went from, I don't know if I'm going to be a part of this, I don't know what's going on, to like jumps on the thing and kind of
he's a little wishy-washy of a character for sure, and you can't really get behind him because, you're right, it doesn't have a real momentous drive to it. And the third act is radically different from the book. I was like, where are they going with this? And not nearly as good. All the stuff with Samuel Jackson. I think he was terribly miscast in this as kind of the villain of the piece.
But it was okay. Nothing special. I thought that they kind of showed some of these kids having their powers, but they never really used them to the full effect, I thought.
Yeah, I agree with that. None of the peculiar children really are standouts to me.
No.
Even the one girl, I probably should know the character's name, but I can't
Emma.
remember. Right. She's about the only one given any real sense of real character, and even then, it's not much. I was expecting more from this film, and it was kind of a disappointment.
Eva Green.
Especially reading the book,
Eva Green was entertaining, but...
Yeah, she didn't jump off the screen like she does in other movies to me
But
either.
once again, it was also just what they gave her to work with, right? It was just... So
was this something that they were hoping to build into a franchise? Like, is there more than one book?
Yeah, I know that she's written sequels to the book, the author. So I'm sure, they would love to do more of these.
But it didn't do very well, did it?
It was profitable, but not a huge success.
Yeah, this might be the first Tim Burton movie I don't watch. It came up on the movie network over the weekend, and my thumb was hovering over the record button.
I wouldn't say it's a total skip. It's not like Tim Burton's worst movie. I wouldn't say it's as bad as Mars Attacks. Is that his worst one?
It's a good contender for this worst.
Maybe children might enjoy it more than I did, or if you're a huge Tim Burton fan, I think you should check it out just for his visuals and if you want to finish off his filmography. But for me, it's a lesser effort from him. His last one, Big Eyes, have you ever seen
I like Big Eyes quite a bit.
Yeah, maybe he should stick to another more character-based film.
Yeah.
And Big Eyes was actually a biography, wasn't it, of that artist?
Yeah, it's a true story.
Yeah.
Hopefully his next film I connect with a little bit more. But
was Amanda Seyfried in Big Eyes?
This one.
She should have been.
Yeah, so that's all I've got. The new HBO show was called I'm Dying Up Here, and Miss Peregrin's School for Peculiar Children. Darren, what do you got today?
So I've got two things today that I will be raving about. The first one, in keeping with our Twin Peaks fascination.
Nice.
So this is something I've known about in existence for a few years, but being Twin Peaks crazy the last couple months, I decided to take the plunge and pay the $9.95 American. It's called the Twin Peaks Archive, and what it is all 10 hours of Angelo Badalamenti's music library for the original series. For a $10 download, you get 10 hours of music. That works out to roughly 5 cents a track.
That seems pretty sweet.
It's a pretty damn good deal. I like my physical media, but there's no way this is all going to be released on CD ever. So for $10, you can't go wrong. You can burn it on about 10 CDs. It's roughly 10 hours of material. I think 212 tracks. There's a couple tracks, I think, based on the titles that are from Fire Walk with Me, and a couple from Mark Frost and David Lynch's very short-lived follow-up series On the Air. I don't know if you remember On the Air. had some funny stuff, but man, it didn't.
What kind of show was it?
It was about a bizarre radio station that just... It was the summer after Twin Peaks was canceled. Right. It was like a 6-episode replacement series, and I don't even know if all 6 episodes aired. It was disastrous, but really weird and funny. Anyways, I haven't even gotten through all of it yet. I've listened to maybe a third of it, but I mean, I love the music from Twin Peaks, and it's just hyping me up for more Twin Peaks craziness. So,
and obviously some of the material had been released before.
There's been a couple CDs worth of Twin Peaks music before. So, I mean, there's like 2 or 3 dozen versions of Laura Palmer's theme on this file you download. So if you're crazy enough to want all of that, it's wonderful. It's available in 320 kilobytes per second MP3 or Apple lossless. Go to welcome-to-twin-peaks.com/music/twin-peaks-archive-david-lynch/ and click on the download the entire archive button and you can get it all. I'll put the link on our Facebook page so you don't have to write that down. Anyways, it was a lot of fun. Second thing I want to rave about is a documentary called The Eagle Huntress. I saw this pop up on Rotten Tomatoes several months ago, and it sounded like a really good film, and it's just come up on Netflix. It is about a young girl. I'm not sure what age she is. She looks like she could be 12 to 14 in Mongolia. She leads a traditional life, as many do on the Mongolian steppe, even today, in this highly conservative, patriarchal society where grandfathers teach their sons and sons teach their sons how to be eagle hunters. She wants to be the first female eagle huntress. Her dad teaches her. Her grandfather teaches her. The clan elders are dead set against it. You know exactly where this movie is going, but goddamn, is it inspirational. And you watch this chick, Aishulpan. If you're not rooting for Aishulpan by the end of the movie, you don't have a heart. I mean, she goes to what must be Mongolia's equivalent of the eagle hunting Olympic Games and competes. And then beyond that, she has to prove herself by actually being able to go out on her own. Well, I mean, with her dad, but on their own into the wilderness and hunt. I mean, the scene of her actually capturing her eagle to train it is pretty harrowing, and then it's incredible after that. My major caveat would be, for some people, there is some tough animal type stuff to watch here. These people lead traditional lives. They wear furs. They're not shopping at Walmart. So, yeah, she's hunting foxes.
They're living off the land.
They're living off the land.
Legitimately.
Exactly. They're indigenous. So, I mean, some people might find the animal deaths or injuries tough to watch. I mean, I did. And I fully understand where she's coming from. But, I mean, you see her ultimately hunt fox with her eagle. So, small caveat, just some people might find that tough to watch. But anyways, delightful documentary, very inspirational. And this girl is wonderful. Just the cutest, chubbiest face you could wish for on a Mongolian girl. She's just wonderful to watch. I have no doubt there's certain portions that are edited. I mean, you can do a lot with editing, especially in a documentary. So certain reaction shots of the clan elders when she wins certain competitions are, who knows where they were pulled from, but they do a good job of making those elders look like dope. So
this was playing at the Plaza a couple months ago when I really wanted to see it, but unfortunately it was such a limited engagement I couldn't make it. So I'm really glad to hear it would have been worth the trip to go there. So
yeah, it's on Netflix now. And you know what? You'll probably have a better screen on your HD TV than I know. I know what the Plaza screen and cameras and projectors are like there. So
you just never know when you're going to see some of these movies. So that's why I was kind of thinking it was maybe a little urgent, but yeah, I'm glad to hear it's out there now.
It's on Netflix now. The Eagle Huntress.
Sounds really
very
good.
entertaining.
And of course, it's all subtitled then?
Yeah, it's all subtitled. Although, man, these people know more English than you and I will ever know in our lifetimes of Mongolian.
I'm going to check that out. The Eagle Huntress.
The Eagle Huntress.
What was your first one? The Twin Peaks Archives?
The Twin Peaks Archives.
By Angelo Badalamenti. I didn't say that right?
It's a good composer name, Angelo Badalamenti.
Okay, yeah, both of those sound, well, Eagle Huntress sounds great.
10 hours of Twin Peaks music if you'd like to listen to that.
I love it. Like Paul, I might be a little Twin Peaks out. Just the new episodes right now for me, I think. Yeah. All right, let's wrap it up for another week. Next time we'll be back to talk about either Tom Cruise's new film, The Mummy, or the new thriller, It Comes at Night. Until then, please subscribe and give us a rating or like on our iTunes and YouTube accounts. You can also like and follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And if you're interested, you can comment and search for past reviews at our website at ywcmovies@libsyn.com.
Sayonara.
Lights.
Hasta luego.
Later.